Magic in the Morning with Miss Britt. Boy, she was a lot younger then. 36 minutes, that is, after, so 24 minutes away from 9 o'clock. It is a Tuesday, and a beautiful, spectacular Tuesday. Our friend Mike Barrett is in for a weekly installment of Good Policies. Mike, what do you think of that blue thing out there, that big blue carpet above us?
I'm kind of loving it. I guess I didn't realize that we had gone that last month was the cloudiest month on record or something. Is that what I'm hearing? It was extremely cloudy.
No, it actually was one of the mildest Januaries, cloudiest Januaries, but Mark Rain has been telling us that he had to go all the way back in the records to October to find a stretch of days that was more than 2 days long.
All right. 2 days of sun?
And we're into 3, going on 4, maybe 5 days of sunshine.
Well, it's really messing with my nap time, so we need to... Just kidding. Well, my wife's like, no, he's not. But yes, I am.
I was just telling a friend of mine on Facebook who said that they don't have any windows in their office. They got to get one of those sun lamps.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Seasonal sun lamp is huge. So,
all right, Good Policies. We always have great chats. You always inform us. And something that... Well, recently we've had a chat with one of our other clients, NVRH, where they hold what are called death cafes, where folks are preparing for the inevitable.
Sure.
And something that you have mentioned with us in the past is a term called insurable interests.
Yes.
Now, in those insurable interests are going to be things that you're going to want to make plans for the inevitable. Do I understand that right?
You're on the right track without a doubt. You know, if you're in the stages of planning for the end, I mean, that's really ultimately what you're alluding to and what I'm going to be talking about to start here. But a lot of people will, planning for the inevitable, they will say, okay, well, we're going to make the house go into a life estate, and they'll probably work with a lawyer to make this happen, right? So it's going to be the John and Deb Smith life estate. But they're naming their 3 kids, Mark, Jonah, and Sam, as the owners of the house. That's how it would work, right? So the life estate, the way it's written, as long as they're alive, that's their house. That's their house. They can sell, they convey, they can do whatever they want with the property while they're alive. But what's happening is when the time comes that they have passed, the beneficiaries, i.e. the children named, and it's not always going to be all the children necessarily, maybe just one of the responsible ones or however the family wants to do it, but they're going to be able to have the property without a lot of probate issues, right? But there is an insurable interest that is created through that process. And usually we find out in our industry about this when the parents have passed. So maybe it was in a life estate for 10, 15 years. We didn't know about it. The parents have passed. The children are reaching out to us. They're not on the policy. So there's really not a lot we can do right off the bat. We have to do a little bit of legwork. We have to find the deed. We have to figure all this out. It's better to ensure insurable interests as they arise. So for life estates such as that, yes. But there's a million other reasons, Jeff, that insurable interest can come into play here. People might put their property in a trust. Well, now the trust has an insurable interest, but is the trust insured? Not unless you tell us. You know, what if you put your house in an entity like an LLC or a corporation? That changes things pretty dramatically. So before you do some of these steps, not a bad idea to have a dialogue with your insurance agent and just see what the ramifications, if any, may be by doing that. You know, corporations can sometimes be difficult to insure in a private personal policy like a regular homeowner. Sometimes LLCs can be, and their trusts certainly can, but you really just want to make sure you're connecting. It's like having, what is it? It's like the Connect Four, right? You want to make sure you're connecting things from A to Z, A to B, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that your plans are perfectly executed when the time comes.
Okay, so what I just took from, and that was a ton of information, very, 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 very informative. What I get from this is something, you use the property, you use the house, okay? Sure. The kids are on it, so when you die. So this would be for somebody planning that may not have a will, right? Something along those lines?
Certainly. Could be all of the above, right? I mean, a lot of people who have trusts have wills and directives and POAs and all of that. But really, again, when you're changing the deed to your property and listing additional folks or entities, you really should be listing them on your insurance policy because you want to let's think about a liability situation where there's a liability situation that occurs that now all the parties that own the house are being named. If I'm on that property because a life estate was created and I'm one of the people listed, I would want to make sure my name's on that policy. But let's go a step further. Let's say a fire occurs and the occupants of the house, i.e. mom and dad, both perish in the fire, and there's a life estate and the kid or kids are named on the deed. If they're not on the policy, that's really going to muck up the waters in terms of how a claim can be handled, how the checks would be written out, things of that nature. So you really want to have, it's an ounce of being, you want to be proactive versus reactive, but you can go even further. Mom and dad help Junior buy a car, and now they are listed on the vehicle. Maybe they are on the loan and on the title of that vehicle with the young driver. Are they listed on the young driver's policy? They absolutely should be as an additional owner. A lot of times we don't see that either. So insurable interest, my friend.
I don't know if you saw me writing my notes down there
I
forgot them here.
Yeah.
But you used the example of a property or an insurable interest being placed into a trust. Is the trust insured? So that leads to the question, if an individual is listed, do they need to have insurance on said property?
So if they're listed, they do have the insurance on that property. They want to be listed to make sure that they're being protected by that policy. That's really what you're doing, is making sure that everything that you're planning is going to be executed properly. So the second an additional name becomes part of the deed, they really should be on the policy. But in the same respect, Jeff, I see a lot of times people who might buy a property in their personal name and have a policy in their personal name, and then maybe down the road with some financial planning, they decide to put that property in an entity. Maybe it's an investment opportunity for them, so they're trying to shield it to some degree, but they don't ever update their policy. So now you've got a policy that's written in your personal name, but you have an entity that owns that property. You don't. You may be a member of the entity, you may be a member of the LLC or the president of the corporation, but where's the corporation or the LLC? They're not on the policy. They should be. They should be the named insured.
Well, I think the bottom line that I'm getting from this is somebody put $1 or $2 into this investment, and they want to make sure that it's covered no matter what happens.
Absolutely. You want to make sure you're protecting your investments. You want to make sure your plans that you're executing. It's like having a trust and never funding it. I mean, a lawyer and many financial people, they heard me say that. They go, yep, see that all the time. You want to make sure you're putting everything in place properly. And it's a very quick dialogue and conversation with your agent.
And you led right to it. The most important thing is to have that connection, have that conversation with whomever is insuring your investment.
Absolutely. Yes. Same with life insurance, which will be for another day.
All right. So real quick here, because we're getting close to being out of time here. Hey, that Boogie 80s dance night that you guys had for NEK Cancer Action Network, come on, man, you're killing me. What's the good news?
It was awesome. It was an absolute sellout. It was online ticket sales only, over $6,000 raised. Now, what does that equate to? It equates to fully funding 4 people in the Northeast Kingdom to be grant recipients for the $250 a month for 6 months that we're currently doing. That could be subject to change as we continue to grow, but that fully gives 4 people grants for the entire term of the grant. So everybody had a great time. It was a wonderfully attended event. My pants were the loudest things I've ever worn in my entire life, and I love it. It was awesome. I want to thank everybody who came, and I really sincerely hope everybody had a good time because we want to do it again.
All right. Barrett Insurance Agency and Good Policies, Magic in the Morning. Now, that conversation to be had with you, they can do.
748-5224 is our number. You can find us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
All right. We'll see you in a week, my friend.
You got it. Stay warm.
Get your sunscreen on. We're going to cruise with Florida Georgia Line and Nellie now on Magic